Good morning. Today our lesson is going to be on what's called simple interest. All right, it's going to involve percentages, which is kind of how it fits. And this is the basic idea of how a bank would work. Not exactly, though. We'll talk about more challenging interest called compound interest later on, and that's more realistic. But this is still, again, that basic idea of how it would work if you were to put money in the bank or if you were to borrow money from the bank. They would, essentially be charging you interest if you're borrowing money, or paying you interest if you're leaving your money in the bank. Right? And the formula is simple. Interest equals P times R times T. So here's what those letters stand for. The I is your interest paid. Interest means how much money you're going to be paying the bank extra for borrowing money from them. So for example, you borrow $100 from the bank. Well, they're not going to make you pay them back $100. They don't make anything that way. You borrow $100 from the bank, they're going to make you pay them back $105. Not a huge amount extra, but just enough where they get something out of it, but yet you're still okay with it. Because, hey, you got the thing you wanted, you got it when you wanted, you only had to pay an extra $5. All right, now the opposite end is if you put your money in the bank. Let's say you take $100 that you got for your birthday and you put it in the bank. Well, they're going to pay you for leaving it there. It's not going to be that $5 rate. It's going to be a little less than that. Maybe they pay you $1.50, but they paid you for just leaving your money there. If you're curious why they do that, is because it's your money that they're loaning out to the other person. So if you put your $100 in the bank's actually going to take that money and give it to somebody else. They're not going to keep it. They're not holding on to your $100 for you in a special lockbox. They're taking that money and loaning it to someone else. When you come back to get your 100, of course, it's a bank. They got plenty of it. They'll give you your 100 back. But essentially what they're doing is they're using your money to loan to another person, charging them $5, let's say, for every 100 they borrow, that 5% interest, and giving you 2% interest. So they're charging that person $5, giving 2 of the dollars to you because it was your money, and keeping 3 of it for themselves because they did the work. So again, that's how a bank makes money. Right? And this formula is what we're going to be using to kind of get the beginning ideas of how this works. Right? Now the P in there is your principal. That's the amount of money that you start with. You borrow $100 from the bank or you put $100 in the bank. That would be your principal either way. Your R is your interest rate, and it's always in a percent. We need to make sure we know how to convert that to a decimal because we'll be using decimals. It's pretty simple. Again, you just take the number and divide it by 100 or move the decimal point 2 places. And then T stands for time in years. So if something is 6 months, that would be a T of 1/2, half a year. So everything is based on years, not months, hours, days, only years. Right, so here's an example. Let's say you take $400. You're going to put it into the bank, and the bank is going to pay you 2% interest, and you're going to leave that money in there for 3 years. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find how much interest you have. So that interest formula said that I equals P times R times T. All right, so the interest, which is what we're trying to find, is equal to the principal, which was 400, times the rate, 2%, but I'm going to write that as a decimal, 0.02, and then times that by the number of years, 3. Again, this is just easiest on the calculator. I don't expect you to do any of that work by hand. So 400 times 0.02 times 3. And I got 24. All right, now what that 24 is it's the amount of interest. That's how much money the bank is going to pay you for letting your money sit there. All right? Now, at the end, you don't just have $24. You don't have 400 anymore. How much money do you actually have now? And that's called your ending balance. To find that, we take the principal, what you started with, and add in the interest. How much have you actually got paid? So your ending balance would be $424. So 3 years after you put this money in, you go to take it out, there's $424 in there. All right, let's try a more realistic problem. This is my retirement savings. I have been saving for my retirement since I was in my early 20s when I first began teaching. And I started off by saving $100 every paycheck. I took $100 every paycheck and put it into an account. I did that for a couple of years. When I stopped doing it, I had about, I think it was like $12,000 in my account. And that was maybe 15 years ago. I haven't put a single penny into that account since then. But right now, I have $63,000, or almost that much in there, really close to that. All right. Over the last couple of years, I have been averaging 14.4% growth. And if that continues, if the stock market continues to do well for me, stays at the same exact rate that it has for the last 5 years, and I retire 14 years from now, because that is my plan. I'm going to retire when I'm 60. That'll happen in about 14 years. All right. Tells you a little bit about how old I am. All right. So I want to find out how much money will I have in this account at that time when I retire. All right. So my interest is equal to my principal. How much did I start with? Well, I'm starting today. All right. I'm going to times that by my decimal for my percentage. So I'm going to have to move this decimal 2 spaces over, 0.144, and times that by the number of years I have left. I want to retire in 14 years. So I'm going to take 63,000, times it by 0.144, and times that by 14. And that means that my interest is going to be $127,008. Remember, that's just my interest. That's just how much more I'm going to make. To find out my ending balance, which we'll just abbreviate as EB for right now, I'll take the amount that I originated with and add in my new amount. If I add those together, I get an ending balance of $190,008. I'll have essentially almost $200,000 when I retire. And remember, I only put in about $12,000 or $13,000 to start with. That's how much money I put in. The rest of this is money that my money has made for me. So again, that's like $175,000 or so in free money. Money I didn't do anything for. Money I didn't have to earn. All right, and this is why you want to start saving for retirement early. All right, if you can start saving for retirement early, then you'll have a large amount of money when you retire. And again, this is just my retirement fund. That's a lot of cash to have on hand for retirement, plus Social Security and plus other things. This is a discussion we could probably have a whole entire Zoom on one of these days and talk about this towards the end of the unit. Well, let's save that towards the end of the unit. And I'll have a Zoom session where we can open up questions and talk about banks and bank accounts and things like that. So for today, this is your work. All right, let me know if you need any help. Good luck.